everybody, welcome to another action-packed, exciting episode of Scotty's Record Shop. Happy New Year. It's been a while. It's been about over 2 months since I made a video. It has been crazy. Lots of weird stuff. I don't put too much of it on, obviously, on Facebook, but it's well known that I've kind of been going through a divorce, separation, all that garbage. So that's taken a lot of time and energy. And it was kind of a weird holiday. So hopefully your holiday and everything went good. Anyway, so I think it was one of the last videos I made. I said I was going to rank all of the Kiss discography. 20 albums. By the way, in a different space, in case you haven't noticed, this was, or still is, a bedroom. But since now basically I have a house to myself, I can do whatever I want. And I've brought a lot of CDs up here. This is kind of the CD space, one of them. Albums and stuff where I usually film is downstairs. Just in case you're like, wait a minute, this is a different place. So anyway, so we're going to look at all 20 Kiss albums, studio albums, no comps, no solo, no live. I will make it very clear right from the top, the best, my personal opinion, the best Kiss album is Kiss Alive. That's whether it's live or not, we don't even go there. But that's my favorite Kiss album. It's always been my favorite Kiss album. When I did my tribute to Ace Frehley, I talked about how I got into Kiss. My brother and I both got into Kiss. My older brother got into Kiss about the same time. It was actually because he brought home Kiss Alive. When it first came out at the end of 75, early 76, I was like 9-10 years old. And we ended up getting Kiss as each album came out. We got the originals when that came out, the first 3 albums reissued. We loved Kiss, and then, well, I'll talk about that, about where I kind of fell off. I fell off of the Kiss bandwagon about the same time I think a lot of other people did. And then kind of got back on it and then kind of got back off again. It was kind of my love-hate relationship with this band. I've seen them several times, both with makeup and without makeup, with different members, because of course they've gone through many membership changes. But I was fortunate enough to see the original lineup. You're not going to get that anymore now that Ace is gone. So anyway, let's get into it. You're welcome to let me know what you think, or your favorite Kiss albums. Maybe the stuff you would rate higher. I know if you're a big 80s music kind of fan, you will definitely rank some of the 80s stuff higher than I would. Hold on a minute. This is the way we do things around here now. We have cats that want to get in the room and crazy stuff like that. So maybe she'll come over and visit us while we're doing this. She's kind of knocking at the door. Anyway, let's get into it. I don't want to make this too long. We have 20 studio albums. Okay, we're going to start off with Crazy Nights. Is there anything on here that's actually even redeeming? I think Tears Are Falling is off of this. That's a good song. The rest of this is just generic. At this point in time, Gene Simmons was phoning it in. It just was not. It just didn't. I don't know. I was not. It just wasn't there for them at this point in time. That was number 20. Number 19. You kind of saw this one coming, probably. If you're an 80s music fan, you love this stuff. I mean, it's well produced. I guess you could say well written stuff, even though the band isn't writing half of it anymore. They're co-writing. The problem with this stuff is that if you took Paul Stanley's voice off of a track and left the instrumentation completely there, and you put Ann Wilson's voice from Heart on there, not changing anything other than the female, other than the vocal person, it would become a Heart song. it was so generic and plug in. The same people that were writing for Helping Kiss were writing for, Heart and other people. It was just that whole kind of thing, and it just, I mean, it was okay for what it was at the time, but it didn't age for me. And like I said, some of you love this stuff. I'm sure you do. A lot higher than I rated it, but Crazy from the Heat, number 19. Number 18. It's getting sort of, actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to switch. Looking at these two, I was like, yeah, I got to switch these two. Carnival of Souls, 1997. It's the one thing I'll say about this is it's heavy, but it's kind of their grunge period, and it's just, they're not a grunge band, and they were too late to the table to begin with. They started recording this earlier in the 90s when grunge was more in vogue. By 97, when this got released, everybody was like, nah, this is just not that good. It just didn't work, unfortunately. I mean, if this would have been released a little earlier, I think it would have done a little better. But Carnival of Souls, my number 18. Yes, number 18. Okay, number 17, we're going to go to Asylum. Asylum is it's getting better. It's still kind of that mid 80s kind of thunderous, almost over the top hair metal. I mean, this is hair metal. This is a hair metal kind of thing, and they fell into it well. And I mean, this did well for them. It really did. It did well for them. It's not a horrible album by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a great album, but it's listenable. It's passable. It's enjoyable. But it is at number 16. Number 16, Asylum. Okay, let's go to their quote unquote reunion album, which really wasn't a reunion album. It's got a really cool cover though. Psycho Circus. The track Psycho Circus is great. Into the Void, Ace Frehley's contribution, great. But the band doesn't play. I mean, this is one of those, they invited them back, it's only in name. Paul and Gene were like, we're going to put we're not going to let you guys play on this album for the most part. Into the Void, I think, is the only thing that all four members played on. And surprise, surprise, it's the best thing on this album. But they didn't let the rest of the guys play on most of it. So is this really a reunion album? I dare say not. The tour was, I saw the tour for this. Hell of a tour. Great tour. Great tour. It was nice to see them back together, because I didn't get to see them when they were originally, in the 70s. I tried. I think I've told this story before, but they came literally they came, played 3 blocks from where I lived in my hometown. In 1976, it was the Destroyer tour. I was 10 years old. I asked my mom, can I please go to this? And she said, there's no way on earth I'm going to let my son go see a band that spits blood and plays with fire. That ended that. So, but I did get redemption, and like I said, I've seen them 3-4 times. Okay, this is the point where I said goodbye to Kiss originally. I just moved on after Dynasty. Dynasty wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. But I was getting into heavier stuff at the time. There was, of course, AC/DC was, Back in Black came out in 1980, and Judas Priest, and stuff like that was just starting to happen. And so I didn't even really realize or put much thought into this. Unmasked. I went back recently, like in the last week or so, and tried to listen to this again. Surely this is better than I thought it was. And actually, what I did just to make sure is I listened to Dynasty before this because I still have some fond memories of Dynasty. I went, okay, Dynasty is about what I remember it as being. Let's listen to this because they're kind of like twins, aren't they? Right? No, they are, but they're not. They're both kind of pop rock. You know, this just falls on its face for me. And it probably even should have been rated lower for me, honestly. Some people love this album. I think that at the time, if I would have gotten this when it came out in 1980, I would have grasped onto it. I would have had some um, some memories, some so a deeper connection to it. But I just don't. And it just Torpedo Girl, people, how can that's just sorry, Ace, but there's a couple of good songs on here, but really, just it just doesn't work for me. Kiss Unmasked. We're going to get into a couple albums now that the last couple of albums that they put out. I don't mind these. They're generic. Keep using the word generic, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a formula that Kiss has. They sing about they have this anthemic type of stuff, shout it out loud and God gave rock and roll to you, even though they didn't write that. They have like the anthemic stuff. So as long as they plug in that anthemic stuff and kind of try to sound like they did in the 70s, as again the word generic as it could be for them, it's still not bad. And these next two albums, the last two albums, first one, Monster, isn't really all that bad. It's actually fairly enjoyable. Nothing on here that is like a drop dead Kiss classic. There's just nothing here. But it's certainly enjoyable, and it's certainly not something to be ashamed of. They were doing really good. This obviously I hope honestly, I know this sounds terrible, but I hope they don't put out any more material. I know that Paul's talking about, oh, we've got more material, and it's like, Paul's voice is gone or not great, so I don't know how that'll work. But at this point, they were still in good form. So my next in line, Monsters. Next one, the one that came out before that, Sonic Boom. This is again, it could be, these two could almost be interchangeable to me, and that's okay. I mean, this is, I remember, because at this point in time, it was like Kiss fans. It wasn't getting played on the radio anymore, and I was kind of, still into Kiss at the time. So it's like, got this when it came out, and it's like, this isn't bad. It's not going to set the world on fire again. It's not going. None of these things are going to take the place of any of the classics from the 70s or even some of the stuff from the 80s. It's just not going to do it. But a decent album, an enjoyable listen. So Kiss, Sonic Boom. Let's see where we're at here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. This one's moved up a little bit for me. This sometimes goes at the bottom of people's lists. You probably already know what it is. Because I think it's a very misunderstood album. It was definitely a misfire for the band. It killed them. They brought Bob Ezrin back in, and they tried to do a concept album. And this, The Elder is not a bad album. You almost have to go, look, this isn't really Kiss, as hard as that is. If you don't think of, Shout It Out Loud or any of the other, Detroit Rock City or anything like that, if you don't just take this for what it is. It's not that bad. Of course, the fact that when they reissued this, they put the track listing in proper order, which makes it sort of. I mean, this doesn't really make sense super big time, but it's a concept album. But it made less sense when it first got issued, which really because Casablanca wanted the strongest songs to be at the beginning of the album, so it's front loaded, and that just didn't work, But this is not a bad album. I encourage people to try to give this another chance, The Elder, number 11, I think, something like that. Okay, we're getting into the stuff now that to me is really, really, I won't say it's all top notch, but we're getting into the really good stuff here that I could put this stuff on and kind of really enjoy it at any time. Animalized. This again, middle 80s. After this is the MTV period. Trying to think if I saw them on this tour. I don't think I did. No, I didn't. I think I saw them on the Lick It Up tour. This isn't bad. This is kind of like an extension of Lick It Up, basically. It's not a bad album. Again, it's 80s. It's poppy metal. But they did it well at this point. They were doing it well. So I don't mind this album all that much. When I'm in the mood for poppy hair metal 80s stuff, this is one I could grab for and be quite satisfied with. So, Kiss, Animal Eye. There you go. This was where I got back on the Kiss bandwagon. And I think a lot of us, I was working at a radio station at the time, and we got this and kind of got pushed by the metal director to play Domino. And it's like, hey, Domino was a pretty damn good song. I mean, some people don't like it, but yeah, I think it was the best song that Gene had brought to the table for quite some time. Again, God Gave Rock and Roll to You, a cover of an Argent song, but they do it well, and it definitely fits that anthemic feeling that they have. This is kind of a transition record because obviously Eric Carr was in the process of dying, which was very sad. None of us knew that at the time, but still not a bad album for them. Pretty heavy, not as heavy as they got on some other stuff here, but pretty good album though. So Revenge by Kiss. Lick It Up. When I heard Lick It Up for the first time, it was like I had mixed feelings. It's like, okay, we're getting this is not the Kiss that I loved. This is a pretty heavy album though. This has got some pretty darn good stuff on it. Lick It Up. I don't want to say it's my least favorite on this album, but it's definitely not the best song on this album. It's a good song. I got used to it. This is the only album with said lead guitar player, Vinny, what planet are you from? Vincent, who still, here we are in 2026, is still causing chaos and controversy and personally, I think that he's putting a blotch again on the legacy of Kiss by being a total wanker. Strange guy, great guitar player and a good songwriter too, but just a weird dude. We'll leave it at that. So Kiss, Lick It Up. This is where I like I said before, I got off the Kiss bandwagon. I don't know. It was great. I was like, when this came out, I was like 13 or 14, and I Was Made for Loving You, I thought was a great song. Yeah, it was disco. Of course, I'm talking about Dynasty. Disco Sure, it's a danceable track. It was meant to be, they you know Paul Stanley knew what he wanted. He knew what he wanted to write, and actually he did an amazingly good job of it. It's very catchy. You may not like that song, but it sticks in your head, which is a key thing for it to be a big hit. And it did. It stuck in everybody's head. There are other good songs on here. 2000 Man, the cover of the Rolling Stones song by Ace. Ace comes through on this one. Sure Know Something, which was the second single, even though it didn't do well, I thought it was a pretty good song. It wasn't heavy. It kind of was an accessible pop hit. At this point in time, they were trying to get a lot more accessible. They were letting go of the heaviness that they were, and the rawness, and this was much more polished. But I didn't mind it. So anyway, Dynasty by Kiss. See where we're at now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7? Okay. I think this is 7. 7th best album for me. One of the heaviest albums these guys ever put out. And it's really a shame that this didn't get the love that it deserved when it came out. Creatures of the Night. This is a friggin' great album for an early... I mean, yes, it's big, the big bombastic drums, but it had that early 80s kind of metal, actually even mid 80s kind of metal sound. And it came out at a really crappy time for the band because they were going through membership changes. Their career was tanking out, and they, in my opinion, they really got it together on this album. But it was too little, too late at the time. They had to go to drastic measures, which was obviously taking the makeup off, which was a good idea. But this is just Love It Loud. That did get some airplay. It did get some traction, but it was played somewhat on MTV as well, but it just wasn't enough to save them at that time. And I really wish it was. And I know that a lot of people come back to this album now and go, you know what? We miss this. This is really a good album. So that's why it's number 7, I believe, in my list of my favorite Kiss albums. Creatures of the Night. This is going to be no surprise. 70s Kiss is for me. It was, my musically developmental kind of age period. As a young teenager. And that was it, man. It was great. Some of this stuff was really kind of hard to rank. Because I had to kind of combine what I really think of the album now plus my sentimental kind of connection to the album. So it was kind of weird and a little easy, a little bit hard, I mean. So I first heard this album from the Originals compilation or collection, the first 3 albums, reissued in 76. I'm pretty sure it was 76. I was starting to think about that. My brother and I got it as soon as it came out, maybe early 77. But anyway, we got it. So we got to hear the first 3 albums that led up to Kiss Alive, And obviously they didn't match up to what Kiss Alive was, but there's some great stuff on here. And these are really good albums. Even though this is my number 6, this is still a really good album. Talking about Dressed to Kill, their 3rd album, 1975. It's got the studio version of Rock and Roll All Night, Party Every Day, which is not as dynamic as the live version. They released it as a single and it didn't go anywhere. This is a good album, though. Not as good as the other ones. To me, they were burned out at this point in time. They'd made 3 albums in 1 year, basically. And they were running out of material. They were going back to the band that they were prior. At least some of the guys were in Wicked Lester. They were trying to get some of the stuff off of there. and revamping it for this, and it was great stuff. I mean, they made some great choices. This is a good album, and I think that the reissue that came out last year of the multi-disc expanded thing really helped too. Really kind of got me back in the mood for this album. But anyway, my sixth favorite Kiss album, Dressed to Kill. Love Gun. 1970s. I was right into this when this came out. This one has dropped a little bit for me. Still a great album. I think at the end of this album, it really kind of tanks for me. The last couple of songs on here kind of tank. And I think that kind of, kind of, that's why it's at number 5. But, I mean, Jesus, Love Gun, what a great freaking song. And I really even like Christine 16, as creepy as an older person now, who's had 16-year-old daughters in the past. I mean, they're all grown up now, but Christine 16 is a little creepy. Thank you very much. Still rocks though, it's still a good tune. But a great album from their heyday. Love Gun. Okay. Number 4. Rock and Roll Over. Head over heels when this came out. Killer cover. I remember as a kid, this cartoon cover. As a 10-year-old was like, this is so freaking cool. And, when my brother brought this home, I mean, the first thing you see is the cover. And you just instantly knew this was going to be a great album. And it did not disappoint. I mean, even things that some people look at as kind of like throwaways, like Mr. Speed. I love Mr. Speed. It just was and even the Hard Luck Woman, which I guess Paul wrote and originally wanted Rod Stewart to do, and I could see Rod Stewart doing that, but I'm glad that he gave it to Peter, because it's a good song. It's a good song. Have fond memories of this, fond memories of late 1976, and just a great album. Okay. Next one. This album I love partially because of its fault. A lot of people don't like this album because of its murkiness. It sounds it wasn't recorded that well. But for some reason that kind of just adds to the just to the feel of this album, because this is a murky album. I'm talking about Harder Than Hell, their second album. I couldn't imagine hearing Parasite any other way than I mean, yes, the live version of Parasite kicks ass. But I'll tell you, even the version of Parasite on here pounds. And partially it's because of that muffled, murky, crappy production that it was. It just adds to it. I'm glad that when these were reissued and remastered, they really didn't clean it up too much, because it would have just, it's kind of like, even though it's different music, it's like Motown music. Motown, really, Motown from the 60s really wasn't well recorded. Let's get real. The drums had that distorted kind of sound to it. It just wasn't well recorded, but you couldn't imagine hearing a Supreme song or a Temptation song without those distorted drums. It sounding super crisp and clear just wouldn't be the same. And that's the same thing with this album. Even though it's totally different music, it just adds to the allure. So anyway, number 3 for me. 1 and 2 last night, 2 is 1. Today, 1 is 2. It's just one of these things. And I'll explain why number 1 is number 1, and there's one specific reason why. But we're going to go with, for number 2, the very first album, Drop Dead Classic. Yes, all of the songs on here that were done on Kiss Alive are better on Kiss Alive. Very true. I understand that. But they're still great. If they never made a Kiss Alive album, and actually, and in that case, they probably would have never been a big band, I think that this would have come back and been a cult classic. I really would have, because this is just some great friggin' stuff on this album. And the band was young, they were hungry. I think that, yes, the songs could have been heavier, but they were what they were at the time. And I just have a love for this album. I remember when the originals, when we got that, this again, out of the three albums, when I played this, even though, yeah, most of the songs appeared on Kiss Alive, so I was familiar with them, but I really just developed a fond feeling for this album. Even back then when I was like 10 years old. And that has not gone away. There are days where I don't mind listening to this over Kiss Alive. You know, I want to hear some studio Kiss. This is where I go. The raw, beautiful, you know. Yes, it almost, if this album was kind of had the same production as this, it would almost be better in a weird way. But it is what it is, and it's great. It's my second favorite Kiss studio album. Okay. Obviously, first favorite Kiss album, maybe it's cliche, is Destroyer. Now, why is this? Destroyer comes in at number one simply for sentimental reasons. Yes, it's a great album, but I just have such fond memories of my brother, my late brother, bringing this home. And funny, we didn't know what the hell to do with it. It started out really rocking, and then the Bob Ezrin over-the-top production, the dramaticness of this. Randy and I, my brother and I, just looked at each other and was like, what is this? What the hell is going on? Because this wasn't the Kiss Alive that we knew. But it grew on us extremely quickly. It really did. And what saved this album was the fact that they flipped the 45 Detroit Rock City over on AM radio, because the edited version of Detroit Rock City is horrific. It is one of the worst editing jobs I've ever heard. It's painful to listen to, as great of a song as it is. But radio, thankfully, flipped it over and played Beth, which was, to some people, including the band, they were like, oh, damn. But you know what? It saved this album. This album started selling like hotcakes and became an even bigger hit than Kiss Alive. You know, like I said, it wasn't Beth that sold it for us, because like I said, my brother and I looked at each other and Great Expectations and stuff like that. It's like, what? What is this? But luckily, we were open-minded enough where we dug it, and I still dig it. And every time I hear this album, just like with Kiss Alive, I think of my brother. I think of those days in the mid-'70s when we were kind of partying and raising a little bit of hell. Yes, I'm not proud to say that I partied a lot when I was 10 years old. I was a wild child. Was what it was. But I have such fond memories of that. So this is why... other than the fact that this really is a great album. Overplayed, maybe overrated, yeah, it's up to you. But this is my favorite today. Put that in there. My favorite Kiss album. Kiss Destroyer. Okay. I welcome your opinions, your thoughts. I know there are some people that really think Kiss sucks. If you're one of these people that think Kiss sucks, I'm happy for you, but just don't clutter up the comment section with how stupid we are for liking Kiss. Let us Kiss fans have our fun here. You know, I mean, the odds, I hope, are pretty good that if you hate Kiss, you did not make it this far into the video. Okay, I'm hoping that you didn't. But anyway, let me know what you think. How do you feel about some of these? Some of you 80s kids are going to put some of those 80s albums hot in the shade. Probably going to go a lot higher for you because it was a well-produced, kind of, I guess, well-written album. You know, hey, that's great. I'm happy for you. And if that's the case, let me know down there. It's fine. There's no wrong answers here. Alrighty. So, I'd appreciate it if you liked, subscribed and shared this channel with other people. I'm going to try to be a little more consistent now that things sort of, I say this tongue in cheek, sort of have mellowed out in my life, but not really, but we're going to try. So I do have some more discographies that people have asked for that I want to get out of the way. So we're going to try to bang those out in the next 3 weeks. So again, thank you. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, everybody, peace and love.